Welcome to Come Talk About Sports. New episode with me talking all about March Madness. I'm Keith Savage here with Ricky Devizio from WQAQ 98.1 in Hamden, Connecticut. And today, we're going to be talking about our March Madness bracket, which starts Thursday. First round starts Friday. So we're going to start off talking about the West Side. You both have Gonzaga and Oklahoma winning, but let's go to the 5 and 12 modes. One of the most fun games to watch. Creighton versus USCB. I have USCB winning. Who do you have?
I have Creighton winning.
Yeah, Creighton won there, lost the conference. They got killed by Georgetown. A lot of people like them. We're going to move on to Virginia or Ohio. Virginia is a team who missed the most of the ACC tournament because of COVID-19. And Ohio's a red-hot team. It's a popular upset pick. But I have Virginia. Who do you have winning?
I also have Virginia. I think their defense will help them win.
Yeah, they're one of the best defenses in the game. We're going to move on to USC, who plays Wichita State or Drake, who both play on Thursday. Both solid teams, but I have USC led by star freshman Evan Mobley, who's going to be a top pick.
I also have USC, too.
We're going to move on. We both have Kansas.
Yeah.
Both have Oregon. Do you have Oregon winning?
I also have Oregon.
Yeah, Oregon's going to win in Iowa. We'll move on to now the round of 32 of the West. Gonzaga versus Oklahoma. I have Gonzaga blowing out Oklahoma.
I do too.
Yeah, Gonzaga undefeated for a reason. Then we have USCB versus Virginia. He has Creighton versus Virginia. I have Virginia moving on.
I have Creighton moving on.
Creighton, definitely interesting choice. Virginia, I just think that defense is deadly.
I have my beliefs in Creighton.
It's true. We gotta pray that Virginia can play. That's the biggest question. Tuesday we'll find out if it's official that Virginia can play. Move on to USC versus Kansas, the 3-seeded Kansas. Big team. Taking a guess, we both have Kansas?
I have USC.
You have USC.
I have an upset there.
That's a big upset. Because I'm going to go on to my next upset. I have Oregon beating Iowa in the round of 32. Iowa led by Luka Garza, who is a star. But I think he's going to have an off day versus Oregon because that team is good. Do you have Iowa?
I still have Iowa, yeah.
Iowa, the team could shoot. Now let's go on to Sweet 16. Gonzaga versus me. I have Virginia. He has Creighton. I love Gonzaga. I have them moving on.
I have them winning. Yeah, I have them winning.
Then let's move on to... So you have USC versus Iowa. I have Kansas versus Oregon. I have Kansas moving on.
I have Iowa. I think it'll be the 1 and 2 seed.
Yeah, and then we have Gonzaga and winning Kansas. Do we both have Gonzaga?
Yeah.
Yep. Gonzaga is the team to beat. Now let's move on to the east side. We have Michigan versus a 16 seed who most likely will lose, but who never knows. Then now we have LSU versus St. Bonaventure. Who do you got winning that?
I have LSU winning.
I also have LSU. And then we got Colorado versus Georgetown of the 5 and 12. Georgetown's red hot after blowing out Creighton and winning their tournament. I have Creighton beating them.
I have Colorado beating Georgetown.
Colorado, definitely solid team. Georgetown popular upset. Then we probably both have Florida State win UNC Greensboro.
Yep.
Then BYU versus Michigan State or UCLA. I had the winner Michigan State versus UCLA winning unless an injury happens.
I have BYU.
BYU.
I don't think there'll be an upset there.
Yeah, they had a close game with Gonzaga in the conference tournament. And then we have Texas versus Abilene Christian. I have Texas moving on.
I have ACU.
That's a huge prediction right there. Texas is a good team, but ACU is a popular upset team to pick. And now, my favorite team, UConn versus Maryland. I have UConn winning.
I have UConn too.
Then we both have Alabama beating our fellow MAC, Iona. Moving on, I have an upset ready. I think Michigan is going to get killed by LSU. I think LSU will absolutely smoke them.
I have that too.
Yeah, LSU, this team is legit. I have Florida State beating Georgetown. You have Florida State beating
Colorado, yeah. I have Florida State winning.
Yeah, Florida State, it's a good team. Then I have Texas beating Michigan State or UCLA. Do you have BYU moving on to Sweet 16?
I have ACU moving on.
ACU, the 14th seed, moving on to the Sweet 16. We haven't seen something like that since, I don't know, Florida Gulf Coast maybe.
I picked them, so it's going to happen.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Then I have an upset going on. I got UConn beating Alabama.
I have Alabama winning that.
Alabama, they had a great game versus LSU to seal the deal. Now we have Ellis. I have LSU versus Florida State. You have LSU versus
Florida State.
Florida State too. I have LSU moving on to the Elite Eight.
I have Florida moving on.
Florida State, great team. I can see either way. And you have Avila Kristen versus you have Alabama.
I have ACU winning that too.
You have ACU.
They're moving on, yeah.
Going to the Elite Eight. Well, I have UConn beating Texas, going on to the Elite Eight, and I now have LSU versus UConn. I have UConn going to the Final Four. Who do you have to the Final Four?
I have Florida State going on. I think ACU will make a run, but then they'll lose.
That'd be one of the best stories we have ever seen if that does happen. Now, let's go on to the South Conference. We have Baylor versus Harford. We're going to have Baylor winning. I have North Carolina beating Wisconsin.
I have Wisconsin beating North Carolina.
Wisconsin's a good team. You can see that. Then the 5-12, popular upset pick. I have Winthrop over at Villanova. Nova lost to start guard and Jake Lipsy. I don't see them winning at all in this tournament.
I picked them too, Winthrop.
You pick Winthrop. Winthrop, definitely a good team. That Purdue losing to North Texas is a surprise. Purdue has some solid players. They're one of the tallest teams in the tournament.
I have Purdue winning just because they're one of the tallest teams.
Yeah, Purdue's tall, and I think North Texas, I was a fan of them last year. They were going to be one of my upset teams to pick, and they beat one of my favorite teams in Western Kentucky, who's led by Charles Bass, who I've always loved since he's gone out of high school. Remember that name because he was going to be a lottery selection. Let's move on to 6-11. We have Texas Tech, the former Final Four team, against Utah State.
I have Utah upsetting Texas.
Yeah, I have Texas Tech. I think Chris Beard can lead the team to another major performance. Then we already talked about this one before that we started, but Arkansas versus Colgate. I have Arkansas.
I have Colgate upsetting them too.
That's a big one. That's a popular pick because not a lot of people think Arkansas is legit. I don't think that legit, but I think they're going to win. Then we'll move to Florida and Virginia Tech.
I got Florida.
I got Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech has beaten some solid teams. And this is where my upset comes. I have Ohio State losing to Oral Roberts. I've been going back and forth in this pick. You most likely have Ohio State.
Yeah, I do.
It was a hard pick for me. But now let's move on to the round of 32. I have Baylor beating UNC. Do you have Baylor?
I have Baylor winning against Wisconsin, yeah.
Then I have Winthrop moving on in the Sweet 16, beating North Texas.
I have Purdue beating them.
Purdue. Last time I picked Purdue lose, I was at the game. They had Carson Edwards, who's now on the Boston Celtics. He played, I want to say it was University of Vermont in the first round at Vermont winning, and they smoked Vermont. Then the second game they played Villanova, and absolutely smoked Villanova. So Purdue always proves me wrong. Let's see if they can do it this year. But let's move on. You have Utah State versus Colgate. I have Texas Tech versus Arkansas. Texas Tech moving on with the upset beating Arkansas.
I have Colgate moving on to the
Colgate moving on to the Sweet 16. Now I have Virginia versus Oral Roberts. I have the 10th seeded Virginia Tech moving on to the Sweet 16. Do you have Florida or Ohio State moving on?
I have Ohio.
Ohio State, proven team, but I don't think they have it. Now I have Baylor versus Winthrop. You have Baylor versus Purdue. Who do you have?
I think Baylor's going to go all the way.
Yeah, I have Baylor too. Baylor moving on. And then now I have Texas Tech versus Virginia Tech. I think Texas Tech, Chris Beard, always trust that man, and he's going to lead this team to the Elite Eight. Do you have Colgate?
I got Colgate. I think they're going to make a run.
So you have 2 14 seeds.
Yep.
ACU and Colgate in their Elite Eight. That would be something to watch that we've never seen before. Then, do you have the Colgate run finally ending?
Yeah, it ends. I think they're going to make a good run, but they'll fold under pressure against Baylor.
Yeah, I have Baylor moving on to the Final Four. And now let's move on to the last side we have not done yet, which is the Midwest. So we both have Illinois winning. We both loyal Chicago.
Yeah, I do.
Georgia Tech red hot winning the ACC tournament. Kind of got lucky, though, with a lot of teams not playing. They beat Florida State. But I think Georgia Tech is it's going to be a close game. It's going to be a flip either way. But now it's going to 5-12. Oregon State is a fun team. They proved they were good in their own tournament. I have Oregon State beating Tennessee.
I have Tennessee. I don't have an upset there.
Yeah, that Oregon State team, I know. I almost have them winning more than. I have Oklahoma State led by Cade Cunningham. Is one of the most fun prospects in this He's going number one, no question. Do you have Oklahoma State beating Liberty?
I have Liberty winning.
Yeah, Liberty. Liberty's a good team, too. I could see them getting the upset, but I think Cade Cunningham, that talent is amazing. And now I'm going to move on to San Diego State versus Syracuse. Jim Boeheim made history, actually. He's made the tournament in the 1970s, 1980s, 1990s, 2000s, 2010s, and now the 2020s. But I think he's going to lose to the San Diego State team, who is one of the best in 2020.
I have San Diego, too.
Then I got my upset here. West Virginia versus Morehead State. I have Morehead State beating West Virginia. Never been a big fan of that team, West Virginia. I think they're gonna lose. I think I like Morehead State.
I think they're gonna pull through. I think they won't let an upset happen.
They have a great coach. I think kind of overrated. We have to wait and see. Then do you have Clemson? I have Clemson moving on.
I got Rutgers.
Then I have my upset big one is I've always loved this team. Cleveland State is going to defeat number 2 seed Houston. Cleveland State is one of the best 15 seeds we have seen in a while. I think they will get the upset and shock everyone. And now you most likely have Houston.
I have Houston, but I kind of want to see Cleveland upset them.
I'm a big fan.
I still think Houston will
one
win.
player. He doesn't play often. Forget his name, but he is 7-2. He was trying in their championship game. He had his hands up defending the throw-in, and it was just amazing to watch as they got a turnover because he's 7-2. Then now we have Illinois versus the 8 or 9 seed Loyola Chicago Georgia Tech. I have Illinois winning.
I have Illinois.
And let's move on to you have Tennessee versus Liberty. I have Oregon State versus Oklahoma State. I have Oregon State and Oklahoma State having a very good game. I think go either way. But I have Oklahoma State moving on to the Sweet 16.
I have Liberty moving on.
Liberty, a 13 seed. So you have a 13 seed and 2 14 seeds in the Sweet 16.
Well, it's going to be an upset year.
I'll have to see if he moves to the Elite Eight. Then I have San Diego State versus Morehead State. San Diego State's going to move on and show they're the best team. You have San Diego State versus West Virginia.
I have San Diego. I think they're going to win.
I love that team. Then I have Clemson beating Cleveland State. The Cleveland State run is finally going to end. But honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if it's a Florida Gulf Coast team from the past. But do you have Houston moving on?
I have Houston beating Rutgers.
So we have Houston in the Sweet 16. Now let's move on. I have Illinois beating Oklahoma State. Is the Liberty run finally going to end right here?
Once again, they'll make a run, but then they'll lose to the 1 seed.
Yeah, Illinois.
I think they won't be able to handle the pressure.
They have Batman on the team, they call them. They have one of the best teams. You never really see Illinois do anything amazing. I saw some interesting thing. Every 16 in 1980, I think it was 1989, they made it to the Final Four and lost. And in 2005, they lost in the championship. Now, could they win it all this year? It's 2021, 16 years later. Don't know, but this team is very good. And I have them moving on to the Final Four.
I have Houston moving on.
Got Houston moving on to the Final Four. Well, we'll talk about who we have in the Final Four after this short break. Stay tuned.
Of WQAQ. Are you looking for a fun and creative way to get the word out about your business while trying to appeal to a young group of college students? Well, look no further. WQAQ is Quinnipiac University's student-run radio station. Here at WQAQ, we allow businesses of all kinds to advertise their products and services to our dedicated listeners. All we ask is that you provide our production team with copy points for your desired ad, and we'll come up with a professional and fun radio spot that will play at least 20 times per day. That's 140 times per week and 1,800 times per month. WQAQ.
And we are back. We have the Final Four. I have Gonzaga, UConn, Baylor, and Illinois. Who do you have in your Final Four?
I have Gonzaga, Florida State, Baylor, and Houston.
So we have two of the same. We both have Gonzaga. We both have Baylor, and I have Gonzaga beating the 7th seed UConn, one of my favorite teams, fellow Connecticut team. I have Gonzaga winning this game. Do you have Gonzaga moving on?
I have Gonzaga, yeah.
Gonzaga, amazing team. Now I have Baylor versus Illinois. Baylor, I'm not confident about even making the Final Four. That whole side of the conference is very strange to me. But I have Illinois. I think they're going to crush Baylor. I have Illinois moving on. Do you have Houston moving on?
I have Baylor moving on.
So you have Gonzaga.
I have 2 number 1 seeds, yeah.
Gonzaga versus Baylor. Also 2 number 1 seeds. Nothing wrong with that. But Gonzaga is going to be the first undefeated team to win a championship. I don't even know how long because Kentucky did it with Karl Anthony Towns. They lost in the Elite Eight. I think Gonzaga is going to win this and be the first undefeated team.
I think they will too. I think they'll surprise everyone.
Gonzaga is one of the best teams that I think ever seen. People say they're not legit, but they have made plenty of choices. They are 4-0 versus the top 25, which I don't get why people hate them. So they beat Iowa, who's a 2 seed, Luka Garza, by 11. They beat Kansas, who's a very solid team, by 12. They beat Virginia, who has arguably the best defense in NCAA. They beat them by 23. Then BYU, who you have winning, they beat them 3 times, including the conference championship. They also beat a West Virginia team by 5. I don't see how this team is losing. They've played good teams. Their stats are crazy. They average 92 points per game, and their opponents average 69.
I think it's an easy win for Gonzaga.
I don't
think there's any competition for them.
Anybody solve them at all. Even though if UConn lose the Final Four, that women's team is going to win it all. UConn's women's team.
They're good. They're really good.
They're really good. Their coach has COVID. He's going to miss. I don't think he returned to like 26, something like that. But they're not losing any time soon. This is one of the best teams, Gonzaga. Be ready to hear this team forever. Do you have any called basketball moments that you'll always remember?
I forgot his name, but it was when he went to, I'm pretty sure he contested a shot and he landed and his knee just busted through his leg.
Kevin Ware of Louisville.
Yeah. I remember watching it. And
you were in 5th grade at the time, I remember.
At first I didn't know what happened, and then they kind of like zoomed in and then saw his knee, just his bone just hanging. That
was a very, very gruesome time. I remember going in the next day of school, and it was 5th grade, and people were writing Kevin Ware on their wrist, on their forearms, just having Kevin Ware written on it. Pray for Kevin Ware.
I just remember everyone was just talking about it the next day.
Yeah, it was during March Madness. Kevin Ware, he later went on to transfer to a lower D1 school. I want to say he plays overseas somewhere in low. Not that very good of a team, but he still has a basketball career, I'm pretty sure, but never had the injury messed him up. It got him out, but luckily he came back from it.
That's a gruesome injury.
Yeah, that was bad. My favorite March Madness moment. So every year, I say 2 years, my sophomore year of high school and junior year of high school, I went to March Madness. My senior year of high school, COVID happened. So I was not able to go, but I did have tickets. But my junior year, this kid from Murray State's small school, they never did anything really. But this one kid named Moran was on the map, and everybody knew his name. Everybody knew how good he was. Went into the game, they played Marquette, who was led by Marcus Towers, and now on the Denver Nuggets, who was one of the best players at the time. And Moran absolutely stole the show and had a triple-double and had some crazy dunk that I've never seen before. Moran, you could tell after that game, he was going to be the real deal, and he's proved it. Moran, amazing. Do you have any team that you loved in the past in March Madness?
I haven't really watched that much in the past. I've watched a few games, but probably, honestly, it was Zion.
Yeah, Zion. Never forget his game against UCF with Taco Fall. Made it the last second. Taco Fall fouls out. All of a sudden, UCF gets the game when he shot, bounces around the rim, then bounces out. Crazy game right there. My 2019 March Madness is one of my favorite. I remember I knew 3 of the 4 Final Four teams I predicted because I watched a lot of college basketball of the year. And the Auburn Tigers, they almost lost in the first round. I want to say it was New Mexico State. I was inside of Harford, Connecticut during March Madness, and they had that game on at the end of the big screen. They had this Auburn game on. And I was like, oh, shoot, I have Auburn to the Final Four. Nobody had them go to the Final Four. New Mexico State throws out a buzzer beater, just bounces out, and Auburn went on to make it to the Final Four. And they arguably should have won against Virginia, but Kyle Guy clutched up the free throws, and the rest is history. But that is all we're going to have for this March Madness special of Come Talk About Sports. Stay tuned for next week when we have a new guest on. I'm Keith Savage here, Richard Devizio, and we're out of here.